What advice would you give someone sort of thinking about, man, do I need to pivot because of this pandemic? Like, how do you balance that long-term view with the urgency of today and maybe needing to alter things based on current state?
It's a hard question in this environment. Although I think the longer it goes, the more we know. So I think for a long time in this situation, there was so much uncertainty that you could almost only live day to day almost. You know what I mean? You could only figure out business day to day. In fact, I was on the phone, or I had a guest speaker in my UW, my University of Washington B2B marketing class I teach to some MBA students. And she was talking about COVID is no longer a crisis, because a crisis is, you know, by definition, she said, it's like it's a frantic, unknown time where you're just trying to get through it and respond, and you're building these processes that are not intended for long-term work. They're just intended to get through these things. You have all these requirements, but it's in the crises typically just drop off. They kind of end. But she was making the point that this is not a crisis like that. This is an ongoing thing. This is the new sort of normal. And so in my thinking, I was like, wow, that's a good point. And I have been thinking about, like, this is a time of uncertainty, but when are we going to get to the point where we know enough, where there's a platform of knowledge, where now it's about risk assessment? You know, now it's about trying to figure out the baseline that we can build on. And I think little by little, we are moving into a time of this post-COVID crisis, into this COVID new world, the new world of work, where, you know, you and I are meeting via Google Meet, and this is how we're going to interact. And even if we are in the same city, which we're not, we would have probably had coffee, fine. But you know what? Now we're not even able to do that. So it's like, what's this new world of work? And so I do think people in dealing with the current situation have to sort of ask themselves, what is the level of uncertainty I'm dealing with? And is it at a level that I can start to assess risk of plans? And so I think if you kind of keep uncertainty versus risk in mind, or uncertainty versus baseline new normal, that's what I think we're all working for. So it's kind of like, ask yourself day to day, how much more do I know? Is it enough for me to consider this a baseline of a new normal? Like, for example, hiring in a lot of ways has become a new normal. Now it's a new normal to see a lot of candidates via VTC and never meet them and start them up remotely. That's become a new normal. And I think that that's opened up in an opportunistic way. You know, it used to be like, I want to hire someone in the greater Bay Area, or I want to hire someone in the Washington, D.C. area. Now, the access that companies have to a talent pool, and the access that talent has to jobs, is much different and better, I think, for the long run. You know, it's not that you never want people in the office together, or that you always want to be 100% remote, but you're definitely going to be much more open to it. We all know how to work remotely now. We know how to have conversations. We know how to be in a meeting with 10, 12 people and still hear from everybody, or try to. So it's a new world of work. So that's already a newly established baseline. I think in the world of marketing, you know, when marketers were like, oh my gosh, should I be uncertain about whether they should be canceling all their campaigns, some of their campaigns? Should they be trying to sell? Should they be trying to market? I think there's a new world of marketing that says, be helpful. Right now, we're in the certainty. Don't have a great degree of certainty, but we have enough certainty to know it's really important to be helpful right now. You know, it's really important to show how you can help. Be useful, make people smarter, like what you do with your podcast and the information that you're sharing. You're helping people be smarter. And as we get more certain and a new normal and a new baseline emerges, we're going to start to then figure out, how do we run new kinds of campaigns that generate demand in ways that our salespeople can start building pipeline and helping companies and people solve problems. So I think it's a question of asking yourself, where are we on that journey to new normal? And I think different parts of our organizations are going to be in different places. I mean, in some ways, being small is maybe easier, and when you're more nimble, you're certainly, I always found smaller to be more nimble, nimble. Not as many people to cover off on, not as much risk to worry about. You know, I mean, you're willing to take risks of different kind. The bigger you get, the harder it is. You need more people to sign off, more collaboration, more the legal guys. Are you okay with us doing this? So it's a good time for smaller organizations to take advantage of their nimbleness, for sure.